All right, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. This is Dr. Ephraim. Today's date is June 29th, 2021, and I'd like to welcome you all to episode 2 of my new segment called Real Talk Tuesdays. All right, now for those of you who are not aware, I've set aside a day to where I just talk about various things, no particular format or no particular subject matter, whatever's in the news or whatever I kind of feel led to talk about, whatever the case may be. So that's what we're doing. This kind of gives us a chance to kind of just, step away from all the heavy duty stuff with, DNA, genetics, and of course, the study of Torah and the Tanakh and everything. This gives us a day to just kind of just be regular kind of people, if you will. So welcome to episode 2 of Real Talk Tuesday. Now today, I'm going to deal with it's this critical race theory versus Christian worldview. Yeah. Many of you may or may not be aware of this whole debate, against this critical race theory being taught, in schools. And of course, the debate and the contention is coming mostly from white Republicans, right? So this isn't about, a political party or affiliation or anything like that. I mean, I really think that this is my personal opinion, okay? I really think that the last president of the United States really opened up a can of worms in this country that I just don't know if it'll ever get, reclosed. I don't. I mean, it's like the hate and the racism is so blatant now. I mean, it's just, they're not even trying to hide it anymore. At least before, it was just kind of like, hidden, right? It was overt. Nah, there's nothing overt about it. They're blatantly, being who they've always been. And I truly believe that this last administration, really allowed that to happen in this country, and it's sad. But I'm not dealing with that per se, but critical race theory, yeah. Well, as a black man, forget that man of color stuff. As a black man, born and raised in America, yeah, you're right. I have an opinion about that. I mean, so let me get this straight. They're okay with making Juneteenth a national holiday, but they're not okay with teaching why it even has to be that. Like, what happened with the circumstances surrounding Juneteenth. I mean, it really makes no sense if you think about it, right? So you want to give black people a holiday, but you don't want to teach whites why you're giving it to us. It's kind of like one of those things, right? But the format I'm going to use, because I came across this article and it really struck me. I'm going to give you the people's names who wrote it, and the format I'm going to use with the article is that, because that article is what sparked me to even want to do this real talk topic today. I'm gonna read like maybe a paragraph of what they're saying, and then I'm going to respond. So that's going to be the format. Okay, so again, and the names of these two men that wrote this article are called John Stonestreet and Timothy D. Paget. Breakpoint, whatever that means, I'm not sure. But the name of the article is called Critical Race Theory Conflicts with Christian Worldview. Like, they really said that. Like, wow. Critical race theory conflicts with Christian worldview. So my thing is, okay, well, what does that mean exactly, right? And it goes on to say that as a theory, CRT, or critical race theory, descends from European and North American philosophical traditions, particularly Marxism and postmodernism. Like these worldviews of its intellectual ancestry, critical race theory sees the world in terms of power dynamics. In this way of thinking, social evils such as poverty, crime, oppression result not from universal human frailties, but from Euro-Americans' intent on securing and increasing their economic and social power. Based on this meta-narrative, equality and justice demand privileging the stories of those kept out of power. Critical race theory sees members of the oppressed group as morally right and members of the oppressor group as morally wrong. Okay, a couple things to unpack with that paragraph. Number one, let's deal with the operative in CRT, critical race theory. All right. So the objective is to think critically, right, of all the facts surrounding race and how race is seen, how race is is taught or not taught in the school systems. I mean, that's the whole thing. You want to be able to think and speak critically, because that's how, when you're honest, you have to be able to be honest. We have to have an honest discussion about race in this country, because if we can't be critical, if we can't be honest, then how is there ever going to be any real results, right? So the operative for me in CRT is critical. Number one, we have to be honest with each other. We have to have an honest discussion about race. And apparently, a lot of whites in this country, they don't have a problem being racist. They just don't want to talk about it. I mean, to me, that's just kind of like one of those things where it's like, how does that work exactly, right? So when they say that CRT, or critical race theory, sees the world in terms of power dynamics, well, what else is there? That's what society is based upon: classism, right, and racism, colorism, all the isms you can think about. But at the end of the day, it's like a status quo is maintained, because mostly whites have all the wealth and mostly blacks are on the bottom. So what else is there if there's not any power dynamics at play here? Right? And they talk about thinking social evils like poverty and crime and oppression result not from universal human frailties, but from Euro-Americans' intent on securing and increasing their economic and social power. Well, let's talk about that for a minute. For every action, there's going to be a reaction. For every cause, there's effect. Let's deal more with that, with the latter, because why? That's a universal law. Okay? You can't look at the effects of poverty, the effects of crime, the effects of oppression, and not want to, and then kind of want to just wave away the cause. Nothing happens just because. If there's an effect, I guarantee you with 120% accuracy, there's going to be a cause. Why are black people, mostly people of color, not just black people, but why are people of color and minorities on top of Negroes and African Americans? Why are we on the lower spectrum of poverty, crime? Why are these races being oppressed the most? Yet in numbers, people of color outnumber white people. And they said by like 2030 something, it's like people of color are going to be more. There's going to be more people of color in the world, period, than whites. So if you're not willing to deal honestly with the cause of these things, right, then you can't downplay the effect, right? It's not about no universal human frailty. I think that's a cop-out. Why are people poor? People are poor because they don't have resources. People are poor because they don't have an economic base. People are poor because we don't normally have generational wealth to pass down to one another. People are poor because of lack of education. People are poor because we don't have the same educational resources or the same educational opportunity or the same economic opportunities. I can go on and on and on. What are you talking about? The oppression of people is that definitely comes from human frailty. I will agree with that. But in terms of crime and poverty, from an economic standpoint, you best believe that's all a part of the Euro-Americans' intent on securing and increasing their economic and social power. You doggone right. So let's not even go there with that. Okay, you want to deal with crime? Why is there crime? Why do people commit crime? Okay, people normally commit crime like robbery and bank robberies and stealing and burglary because they don't have money, because they're poor, right? You don't see a rich person breaking into a bank or trying to rob a bank or trying to steal someone's car. We live in a society of haves and haves not. And I'm not even trying to say, listen, I'm not trying to say at all that black people, my Latinos, minorities as well, are the only people in this country or in this world who are in the have-nots. Okay, not every rich person is rich. Not every rich person is wealthy or have a silver spoon or was born with a silver spoon in their mouth. But compared to the number of blacks, right, there's no comparison. Okay, there's no comparison. And because of what they look like, they have more of an opportunity to receive or apply for some type of economic base. Just walking in the door. Just looking like how they look. Clean them up, put a suit on them, put a nice, whatever. Hey, Mr. White, come on in. Yeah, let me give you this $100,000 loan to start this business. But see, when you're Mr. Black and you walk through that door, same suit, no, you get denied. Your credit's bad. So don't sit here and tell me that it's at the end of the day, a lot of the oppression of people of color and black people in particular, minorities, is not based on economic or social power structure at play. It's like that. Let's not even pretend that. Okay, it's almost like you get to a certain point and then it's like you tap out as a black person, right? You want to think that the game is fair, but the reality is many times the deck is stacked against us. I don't care who you name, the most successful black. I don't care if you name Oprah, you can name Michael Jordan, Jay-Z, Beyonce, all of our most successful entertainers and sports people. Guess what? That's all new money. Why does that matter? Because that matters because that means that they didn't come from money either. They didn't have any generational wealth passed on to them. They got it out the mud. They started from nothing and made something. You understand? And that's normally when you look like me and you and the majority of us, that's normally how it goes. So don't ever try to don't even insult my intelligence by implying that poverty and crime is not tied to economic oppression. It's not tied to financial, economic, and racial and social power and the power structure that commands that. Don't even do that. All right. And then they go on to say that critical race theory, like any worldview framework, should be evaluated. That, however, is easier said than done. Even in the church, advocates often point to common ground between critical race theory and the Christian worldview. For example, the commitment to justice and human dignity, and label any critiques of Christian critical race theory as convenient ways to avoid confronting injustice and racism, which may not be true, but often is. Okay, now they're trying to, they're trying to tread light here. They're trying to tiptoe around stuff. Okay, let's look at critical race theory. Yeah, it definitely needs to be evaluated. Okay, all it's easier said than done. No, it's a cop out. It's a cop out because that's people's way. That's the church's way of not wanting to deal with it. Let's not pretend like there aren't two sets of Christians in this country. Let's not pretend that blacks and whites traditionally have always been segregated, even after Jim Crow and the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and even in 2021. But it's legal segregation now. Let's not act like things aren't separate. Let's not act like all things are equal between people, even today. See, that's insulting to my intelligence. That's insulting to our intelligence because we know that it's not equal or even keeled. It's not even close. If you look like me, we have to be 10 times better. You understand? If we want to get a really good paying job, we have to have so much more education, right? It's like we have to go above and beyond when you're black or when you're a minority, when you're Latino, right? That's a problem. That's a systemic racial problem. But see, the thing is, people, especially churches, they don't want to deal with that. See, and that's where the problem lies. That's how it starts. The inability of wanting to even have a conversation, to even deal with the real problems that we face. People think they can just throw money and, well, I gave to the poor, or I made a contribution, or whatever the case may be, and that's great. If you have a good heart and you want to give and try to help and do your part, hey, that's great. But we have to deal with the systemic problem of racism, of prejudice, of inequality. Let's talk about, forget slavery. We don't have yokes of iron anymore. Now the slavery against black people and people of color and minorities is economic slavery. We're economically enslaved. We're mentally enslaved. We feel like there's no real justice in this country. It's just us. It's always been that way. Right? It's always been that way. There's no real justice. It's just us. We go and put in for a loan, we get 8-balled. You understand? You want us to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, but you keep tying our shoelaces when we ain't looking. I mean, that's, it's just y'all stacking the deck against us. I mean, it's like we born to lose. I mean, what are we supposed to do? What we doing? Really? What are we doing? Right? So if critical race theory, it conflicts with Christian worldview, then maybe there's no maybe about it. Then the Christian worldview on a whole needs to be reevaluated. Because like I said a few minutes ago, let's not act like black and white Christians in this country are the same, or think the same, or get treated the same, or even looked at the same. They're not. Okay? There's a lot of people that they think they make a few dollars and they think they've made it, and they smile up in folks' face and thinking that they're in now. They're in the country club. Listen, I'm not one to be cynical. I'm a realist, though. Okay? I'm a realist. I've been living in this country as a black man for 53 years. I can say what the hell I want to say and what I need to say, and I'm going to tell you what I've observed. Okay? When you make it to a certain level of success as a black person in this country, yeah, they'll give off the impression that you're accepted, or that you're cool, right? Yeah, you're cool now because you got a few $1 million in your pocket in the bank account. But don't you think for 1 second behind your back they don't call you nigga? And I'm not saying that to be negative. I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm saying it because it's the reality. We're looked at differently. We walk in the door, the rules are different for us as soon as they see what we look like. Let me tell you something from my personal standpoint. I'm a very educated black man, very educated, graduate level education. I mean, you name it. All right, graduated cum laude. I mean, I'm Sigma Beta Delta, International Honor Society, all of that. I can go on and on and on with my credentials and with my background, my resume, and this and that. With all of that said, right, there are people walking around this earth, and I ain't talking about no superstars, no entertainers, whatever, that don't have nowhere near that look the opposite of me, and their earning potential triples mine. That is a problem. With all of what I just told you, and I didn't even go into all of it. Listen, I'm not perfect. I'm a good example of us, though. I will say that. I am a good example of us. And that good example is not good enough to the masses. Don't sit and tell me that critical race theory shouldn't be talked about. Don't sit here and tell me that critical race theory conflicts with the Christian worldview. Well, then something's wrong with Christianity. I mean, let's just be honest. Let's just be real. If there's a conflict there, then something's wrong with Christianity. Then they go on to say that many Christian critics, and he said himself included, are specifically concerned with how critical race theory conflicts with a Christian worldview, particularly in areas of identity and morality. Wow. Not everyone agrees. Recently on Twitter, a defender of critical race theory boldly tweeted, "Whoever told you critical race theory is a worldview was either lying to you or didn't know what they were talking about. Of course, assuming malice or greed is a way of dodging the question rather than making an argument." And it goes on to further say, another Twitterer offered a different response. Quotes, "If CRT or critical race theory is bad because it's a secular worldview and we must only derive our worldviews biblically, then I better not see a trace of Aristotle or Plato in your worldview either, brother." End quote. This one is a slightly more clever way of missing the point, or specifically misunderstanding what it means for a worldview to be biblical. To have a Christian worldview is to hold views that are consistent with the Bible, not to only have views that are in the Bible. The problem with critical race theory is not that it isn't found in the Bible, it's that it offers a very different explanation of humanity, sin, and redemption than the Bible does. And let me just say that that is a different lie. Okay, see, one of the things that really get me about people like that, and listen, I don't have anything against whatever someone thinks, or if that's their view, hey, I respect that. But my problem is people like that have short memory span. See, because they forget the fact that when our people were brought over here involuntarily in chains and yokes of iron on our necks, and the ones who didn't get thrown over the ships for the sharks to eat, that did actually make the trip, that made it here on land in Charleston or whatever port that the slaves were dropped off in. One of the things they did to keep us subjugated and ignorant was that made reading made it so the slave could not read. And if you were found reading, you could be killed, you could be hung, whipped. I mean, to an inch of your life. I mean, you name it. See, because what's in that Bible, what they didn't tell you is that in that Bible, it tells you, number one, no man should be called master. No man. Right? But of course, we wouldn't know that because we couldn't read. Right? See, they cherry picked the Bible and read it to the slave to keep them subjugated, to keep them, to keep them in fear. They did stuff to keep the slave in fear. Okay? Listen, what our people endured during slavery to this day still affects black people. And for those of you who try to say, who think, or say that, that's a ridiculous thought. No, actually, it's not a ridiculous thought, because the mentality that was instilled in my people, that was ingrained in our consciousness, right now, black people value the things that whites do. We first of all, we never had an identity, number one, and many of us, when we get a few dollars, we show have lost whatever little identity we had or was trying to have when we get some money. So don't sit here and tell me that my people today still aren't feeling the effects of slavery. We still aren't feeling the effects of segregation, of being economically phased out to this day. Okay, don't tell me that. See. You can pee on my head, but you're not going to tell me it's rain. I know better. Okay, we are economically phased out. We are socially phased out. And with all these laws these Republicans trying to pass, so now you're trying to disenfranchise again. You're trying to suppress the black and the minority votes now. Like I said, it's just blatant now. So if critical race theory conflicts with a Christian worldview, then your Christian worldview is wrong. Period. Point blank. Okay. Before you can talk about trying to solve a problem or even approaching a problem, you have to have a very real and honest conversation about it and be willing to have that conversation. See, apparently, what the dust up is that white people, a lot of them, not everyone, okay, are not willing to have that conversation. It's like they want to just keep it mute. Just want to keep it, they want to be able to tell his story, not history. They want to be able to tell his story. Right? But see, they didn't have a problem teaching our young black children about all the stuff that really didn't matter to them, didn't mean anything to them at all. They had no problem with that. See, and that goes into another segment of this my whole issue with this critical race theory, right? It's like they want us. They don't want us to have any kind of value. They don't want us to have any kind of value. They don't value us. They don't value our contributions. Let me tell you something. Slaves built this country for free. Okay? Real talk. For free. Or free labor. But yet you want to say that when the subject of reparations come up, oh, here we go again. No, ain't no here we go again. Because many people have received reparations. Hell, the slave masters that owned my people received reparations. You damn right, here we go again. The injustice of black people in this country, I mean, it's just really, it's ridiculous. And so basically you wanna spit in our face. You want to pee on our head and tell us it's rain, spit in our face and tell us that it's cool and to like it and to like that and be okay with that. You don't want your children to know of all the contributions we made to this country when my people were enslaved for free, all the free labor. So you mean to tell me, let me conceptually get this right. So my people provided the free labor that allowed your people to become grossly enriched off that free labor. You never gave my people anything for it, not even a thank you. And so now it's a problem for the ancestors of my people to say, hey, we want something too. We deserve something back. We've contributed to this country. We've contributed to society. See, the media would have you believe that all we do is go to jail. All we do is get shot and killed by the police. That's all you see. All you see is, black folks acting a fool. Because they want people to feed into that narrative and to continue, because it continues to devalue a black life. That's why conceptually, no, I don't agree with Black Lives Matter, the movement, but conceptually and realistically, yes. All black lives matter, because society has made it to a point where they've basically devalued a black life. And that's why you see all these images of blacks getting shot. Because I'm going to tell you, what it does is, if you see something over and over and over, guess what? What it does is it tends to desensitize you. Imagine that we live in a society where a black person, male or female, or a black child getting killed, it's like it doesn't even affect us. It's like we all cried out. We can't even cry anymore. The tears just won't even come. So don't tell me that critical race theory conflicts with Christian worldview. You have some nerve, sir. You have some nerve, and the audacity of you to even to have that come out of your mouth, that critical race theory conflicts with Christian worldview. Well, sir, if you are a Christian, then I'm glad I'm not what you are. If that's how you really feel, I'm so glad I'm not what you are. Okay, because I don't believe in that, not at all. Okay, yeah, critical race theory should be a worldview, because blacks are catching hell all over the world. That's what should be the worldview. Critical race theory. Let's dissect it. Who's on the bottom in just about every part of this, not just this country, but the world? Who's on the bottom economically? Who's mostly impoverished? Who's living in poverty? Right? Who's undervalued? Who don't have health care? Who can't afford health care mostly? I mean, you just name it. It goes on and on and on. But that conflicts with Christian worldview, though. We can't talk about the economic disparity and the gross unfairness of that and what that means in this country to people of color and minorities. Can't forget my Latinos and my Native Americans. Can't forget them. Come on now. But that conflicts with Christian worldview. Well, one or two things. You either need to change your worldview, sir, or change your religion, because they both suck. I'm just being honest. I'm not disrespecting, but it's just what I feel right now. This is Real Talk Tuesdays, and that's exactly what I'm doing. This is some real talk coming from me. I'm not even mad at you. You saying exactly what you feel. That's how you see it, right? And then so finally he goes, if we don't want unbiblical explanations of life and justice sweeping through the church or culture, we'd better make sure we communicate and embrace the full ramifications of Christian truth for society, and then act justly and love mercy. If we rob our faith of its social implications, we are no longer talking about Christianity. Such a personalized, privatized moral system may make us feel better, but it will never stand up to the rival worldviews of our day. And my question to that, sir, is what exactly is a biblical explanation? How do you biblically describe poverty? How do you biblically describe oppression, being economically enslaved, being disenfranchised, being undervalued, not given the same equal opportunities? How do you biblically explain those things, sir? That's what I'd like to know. I would really like to know, how do you biblically explain that? Because if you're a so-called Christian, the biblical explanation is that there should be no poor people. The Bible says that there's no Greek or Jew, right? There's no rich or no poor, no bond or no free. That's what the Bible says, right? So that would give the implication of what? Equality? Please let me know, what is a biblical explanation, sir? I really would like to know that. Okay? Because it sounds to me like you're on a soapbox coming from a position of you have it going on for yourself. Okay? My people can't say that. That sounds really arrogant. That's really that's mighty white and Christian of you to say the things that you're saying, sir. And I'm just being honest. Real Talk Tuesdays. Okay. So what's the end result of this thing? Because again, they're not hiding it now, people. It's really kind of scary. Because before, a lot of the racism, a lot of the prejudice, the social injustice, all this thing, it was more overt. It was hidden. They tried to hide it. No, they're not hiding it. They're being blatantly and openly racist. And I think it's festering. I mean, they're literally trying to stop critical race theory from being taught to not just black children or children, or minority children. White children need to know about this too. Okay? They need to know about this too. So what's the message? You're saying that it's okay to tell them all about, to have, for Martin Luther King Day and all these different holidays and this and that, but they can't learn about the circumstances around and why we have those holidays? Makes absolutely zero sense. But, until we can get more people of color, more people that look like me and you in positions of power that help make laws, this is what we're going to have to contend with. It's unfortunate. It's unfair. And quite frankly, it straight up sucks. It straight up sucks. I mean, just no way around it. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end this, my rant for today, for my Real Talk Tuesdays. And I just wanted to respond to that article because it really hit me a certain way. And, but I really would like that person to explain what a biblical explanation is for poverty and social injustice and economic disparity and you name it. I would like to hear his answer for what the Bible says about that from his standpoint, from his Christian worldview, since critical race theory conflicts with that. Anyway, on that note, my people, this is Dr. Ephraim signing off for Real Talk Tuesdays. Until next time, make sure you subscribe and you hit the all so you'll get notifications when I upload all my new videos moving forward. So until next time, you guys all have a good day, afternoon, and evening. This is Dr. Ephraim signing off.